Hi, good afternoon. I'm going to take you into the meeting room where we do story time. So this is a little bit of a setup of what the room would typically look like. We would invite people to come in. It's a big room with a nice hardwood floors. There's a table where we would typically put the sheets that have songs and rhymes on them. And that's really great for when you can also dim the lights, which is nice. We do typically have the lights on the regular setting, but that's on. An option if we should want it. Also, that table in the back that I was talking about, we have sheets that are set up right there, and those have some songs and rhymes on them, which is really great for giving to the parents so that they can really follow along. This is a seat where I usually sit, so I'm just going to kind of sit here and talk to you real quick. Typically, I would sit down. There would be 2 rugs. We've got that table in the back, and I would just make an opening announcement saying, parents, we've got a sheet that has songs and rhymes. We encourage you to participate. So I'd invite everybody in, and I'd have the kids sit down here on the rugs. And the group that I did was a preschool group. So I had the great privilege of observing this group 5 times. Well, 5 times that I wrote up, but I'd say about 6 times total. And I observed whole story time. So they would come in, and it's a very structured story time, which is really great for children who have some sort of cognitive disability. And the great thing, let me just turn this around so that you can see me. The great thing about being able to observe the same group over and over is you see what works and what doesn't work, and I can kind of see the structure of story time. So they'd come in and they would start with the rules, and that's something I did when I did my story time, which was really important to me that I would have something that would let me, I'm gonna set my camera here on the stand, that would let me establish what the expectations are for the video. For the story time. So I would hold up little signs that have pictures, which again is really great for anybody who has some sort of cognitive disability, but also for people who are not native English speakers. So it would say things like, please silence your cell phones, please stash away food and toys and drink. If you need to step outside, the door of the room is open, come in and out, this is where the bathroom is, and then also setting some behavioral expectations. So things like the edge of the storytime rug, I ask the children to stay on their side and I stay on my side so that pieces don't go walking off. So let me just show you what I would gesture to them, this is the edge of the storytime rug, you stay on your side, I'll stay on mine. We've got a flannel board set up. Let me give you the behind the scenes. This is where we stash flannel boards, and we also have a big book. Lots of big books. Underneath there, speaking of big books, I actually did that as one of the adapted materials for the program. So anyway, I observed this group, and it is a mixture of inclusive children. So there are children in this group who have some sort of physical disability, as well as some cognitive or learning disabilities. I have one little girl, sweet as can be, who has Down syndrome, a couple of kids who are somewhere on the autism spectrum. And they range in age, so it's a preschool story time. It's supposed to be for, I'm gonna put you back right here. It is supposed to be for 3 to 6-year-olds. Sometimes we'll have younger siblings tagging along. So the group that I did when I did my program was 26 people total. I believe it was 26 total, which it comes out to about 15 to 18 kids, because there were several kids who had multiple children with one adult. But we do have a lot of younger siblings that will tag along, so I have this preschool story time is really special to me because it ends up being kind of more like a family story time. It ends up having babies, 1s and 2s, toddlers as younger siblings, and then the targeted age group, which is the 3 to 6-year-olds. So I realized after watching these kids that it was not going to work to just do a strict preschool story time. I was gonna really have to kind of think on the fly and do some adaptation. So this is the plan. This is a plan that was created based off of a template, and I would typically put it down either here on the floor beside me, so I would have it while I'm talking to the children, or I would have it on a cart. There is typically a cart right here where my hand is, and on that cart is props and manipulatives, like maracas and shakers. And I don't have the maracas with me today, but they are about yay big, and they've got a handle, like a maraca, and then a little bulb on the top. I have that, but I also have some animal-shaped maracas, or rather just shakers, and then shaker eggs, which are about the size of an egg, that I give to the younger children, as well as to some of the children who have physical challenges, and I know that they can't hold the other shakers. The shaker eggs are a little bit more accessible for them. So anyway, so this is a plan that I would use. And let me really get down in there. You can see that the opening song is to shake your sillies out. And then the rhyme is to dance your fingers out. And then it sort of goes from there. So the book is left open because I like to really see how the group is doing. I start with the longest book, always. And then I see how they're doing and do I need to go longer, shorter, kind of see how their behavior is doing. There's also a lot of repetitive things, and that's something that I really picked up while I was observing the group, and also just from my job. So things like the itsy bitsy spider, and hey diddle diddle, and hickory dickory dock, and twinkle twinkle little star, things like that. We do that every single week. It builds repetition with both the children and the adults. And it's also really great because it can help, again, with those children who might have some sort of cognitive disability, for them to be able to recognize and feel comfortable with it being the same song and rhyme. And we try to do it the same way. But then also I like to provide, especially as a model for the parents who are in the story time, I like to provide different options. So for example, one of the things that I might do, I would put up onto the flannel board this little guy. So let me put it up onto the board and show you. I would put it up onto the board like this, and I would say, here's our clock, and here's our little mouse. And I'd ask the children, what sound does a mouse make? Does a mouse say woof, woof, woof? No. Does he say meow? No. He says squeak, squeak, squeak. So, once we've established that, I say, okay, we're gonna make him climb. And I would speak it. I'd say, hickory dickory dock. The mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck 1, and I always show with my finger, and I encourage the adults again to say, show 1. The clock struck 1, and the mouse, he ran down, hickory dickory dock. And then I like to say to the children, okay, well, we're gonna do this another way. So then, I'm gonna turn it around again. I would say, there's lots of ways we can do this. We can do our mousy fingers like this, and we can climb them up our arm, or we can be the pendulum on our big clock, and we can clasp our hands, and we can swing them. And then I would sing it. So I would say, hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock struck 1, and the mouse, he ran down, hickory dickory dock. And then I would say struck 2, again, always showing the fingers. I really like to incorporate counting into this, and I like to use my fingers as well because it's visual as well as auditory, so I'm really trying to send home that message that when I say the word 2, this is what that means. So I would say 2, and the mouse said boo, and then I would say 3, and the mouse said wee. So this is really great, again, for providing options for if you've got mixed ages, because the older kids might want to do where they swing their arm like a pendulum, but the younger kids who are sitting in mom and dad's lap might like to have their arm tickled up. So anyway, that's something that I like to do. Again, by providing other options like that, I also find that it's a great way to make sure that the children who are maybe differently abled as far as physical ability understand that there is no right or wrong way to do it. That was really important to me, that I felt that they were included just as much. And also, I really encourage the parents to get involved. And so I say, okay, grown-ups, I need you to help me. And so that verbal reminder to them to get involved is super important. So let me come back down and show you the plan. So I've got the words here, and we'll always have this. So we have, you see, dance your fingers up. We're always gonna have that rhyme. We've got hickory dickory dock written out, as well as the itsy bitsy spider. Roly poly is a real good transition one. Let me just sit you back here. I tell everybody, get your roly poly hands out. We're gonna roly poly, up, up, up. Roly poly, down, down, down. And you notice that I modulate my voice up, 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 and down, down, down. And that's something that I got actually months ago, before this class. I spoke with a parent who was bringing her son to the preschool story time, a different session, and she said that her son had he had hearing problems, and he had since birth, and she said those kinds of big motions were really good for his cognitive development and gross motor skills, but also when I say up, 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 and I go up and then down, 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 it's really putting together that up not only means up direction-wise, but also means up, up in pitch. But doing those really big motions is really good for those kids who might have sight problems or visual problems, because those huge, big motions are really easy to track for everybody. And also for those kids who might have physical delays. Like I have children who have, their hand is not fully developed. They don't have all of the fingers, and their arms are a little underdeveloped for what other children that age would be. They might have a hard time making small motions, but if I say up, 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 they can lift their arm all the way up, and then they can participate like the other children. So I would continue roly-poly by saying fast, And roly-poly, slow, slow, slow. Roly-poly, clap, clap, clap. Roly-poly, lay them in your lap. So that's one of my favorite transitional ones, because once I've got them down in their lap, I can move to a book, which is one of the other things that I really wanted to do to be adapted for the kids. Now the problem is that I would love to do, and I had thought about doing, a book where I adapted it to be a flannel board piece, wherein, for example, I've seen really great ones where people do Dog's Colorful Day. And they do, I'm getting set up while I talk to you, they do Dog's Colorful Day, and everybody gets a spot. So as the color is read out, so like as there's a pink spot and a blue spot and a green spot, a child would come up and put their spot onto the flannel board. The problem with the kind of groups that we have, I mean, you have to imagine this room with 2 rugs completely full and parents in the chairs around the side of the room. I mean, it's a big crowd. So one of the ways that I really wanted to be interactive, because I have found interactivity is great. And of course, it's a really great way to get those kids who might be somewhere, you know, a little bit cognitively behind, or they might have, I have some kids who have some pretty severe attention problems. I can't say for sure ADD or ADHD, but I would guess. I like to do these big books. So this is Freight Train by Donald Cruz. The plan that I did, as you probably saw from looking at the plan, was trains, and they loved it. We made lots of choo-choo sounds. This is the regular size copy. So just to hold it here, look at the difference in size. And so the great thing is that this book is just really simple. And so, I mean, it's really great for, this is cool. It's a signed Donald Cruz book, pretty cool. It is just a real simple book, but there's colors. So see, red caboose is colored red, right above red. So we talked about color identification. We talked about the different parts of the train. Let me show you on the big one, because this is one that I did with the kids. So they love the big books. Honestly, this is kind of the smaller of the big books. We have big books that are way bigger than this. So they really like this, and they really got more involved. This is a simple book. And so for the kids in this group who are differently abled, I think that a book this simple might have been, you know, maybe not that interesting to them, but for the children who have some cognitive delays, this book is really great because it's accessible for them. It's color identification, and that's something that at this age, it is good to be working on with them. And I think that it built confidence for all of them that they could say this. You know, I would stand here and face them. Hi.